Hi folks. Well, it's a beautiful 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and it's the last day of deer season. And this morning I woke to 40, 50 kilometer-hour winds, just a howling. So I gotta confess, I didn't get up early this morning. I made my wife breakfast. We had omelets, toast and marmalade, a couple of cups of coffee, got some water, did some other camp chores, and then I started out for a walk. I haven't seen one fresh track. They're sitting pretty tight. In this area that I hunt in, it's also hunted pretty heavy. There's a couple of gangs that run dogs here, so it sure changes still hunting by yourself. Although I still like to walk in the bush and love to see new country, and I love to sit the first little bit of the day and the last little bit of the day. Anyhow, so here we are, and got my favorite deer rifle with me. It's a Model 6 Remington, chambered in .308 Winchester, and I got a Leupold 1:4 scope on top, which is really good for this really thick country here. And where I'm sitting right now, actually, in this swamp, it's quite open. A lot of the country is a lot thicker than this. So I've read this part of the country was heavily timbered with white pine, and in the late 1800s it was all cut off, and the slash that was left on the ground was just ripe tinder for a forest fire. And apparently a huge forest fire went through here in the late 1800s, and here and there in the bush you can actually find the remnants of old pine stumps with charred pieces left on, just the outer ring in places. But you can sure see there was some dandy timber here at one time. Anyways, this .308 works just wonderful in here. I shoot 180 grain Remington Core-Lokt pointed soft points, and works wonderful. Well, I better get back to hunting. So thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you again on Out of the House with Paul. Hi folks. Well, I'm back to living the dream. It's Sunday night. We've had a great Sunday. Started off with church this morning, ran a few errands, had lunch, had a nap, did a little playing out here in the shop, and now it's Sunday night. Got the wood furnace over there burning, nice and warm in here, and I'm going to clean my musket. I don't know about you, but I'd have a hard time sleeping tonight if I put my musket away for the year without cleaning it. I did fire one shot, and I was hoping to Daniel Boone a buck. One shot and down it goes, but I didn't shoot at a buck. I shot at a grouse. Tried to clip its head off, and I missed. So, grouse 1, Paul 0. So I'm going to run a patch through it. I'll wet it with hops, and when I'm finished I'll put on some Rem oil to give a little lubricant and a little more corrosion protection. Someday I'm going to invest in a boar snake, and actually maybe even Santa Claus this Christmas might see fit to drop a boar snake for me underneath the tree. But until then, I'll continue to do what I've done for years. Just push a patch through with a rod. It's pretty clean, actually. As I say, it only had one shot, and it went away clean last year. So, yeah, there's hardly anything on it at all. So it won't take much to clean this. There, that's 2 passes with some hops. And I'll put a boar brush and give it a wipe. By the way, anytime you clean a rifle, or any kind of gun, or you even touch one for that much, you always want to prove it's safe. You want to make sure your weapon is safe. And obviously, before I touched this, I made sure that the magazine was out and empty, that the action was back, it's a pump action, and there was nothing in the chamber. It's always nice when you can clean your gun, and it's a 2-swab deal because it's nice and clean. There, that's one, and we'll put one more through it, and that should be it. And just as I was working, I just turned off the radio I was listening to CBC, Cross Country Checkup, and the discussion tonight was on toll roads, because Mr. Tory has said that he'd like to put a toll road through, or make the Don Valley Parkway, and I think the Queensway maybe in Toronto, both toll roads to help pay for the costs of operating them and the upgrades to infrastructure. My oh my, there's a lot of difference of opinions. Almost as many as in the difference of opinion of Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Say, wouldn't that be a great thing to start conversation with this year in the holiday season? Everybody sitting around the holiday table, getting ready for a good visit. If you want to know how to ruin that visit, let's bring up the American election. You know, I'm 56 years old. I'm just going to put some rim oil through now. And I don't ever remember such interest in American politics, nor anything even close to being as polarizing. However, you can be assured at our Christmas table that I'll bring up the Donald Trump-Hillary Clinton debate. Just for the fun of it all. There we go. The patches are coming through just as clean as I'm putting them in, so I think we're done. Next thing I'm going to do is, I have two clips. I'll blow them out with compressed air, make sure there's nothing in them, and I'll put a little Rem oil on the action and on the outside of the barrel. I've got the scope covered, so there's not any danger of getting it on the glass, on the optics. But here's little Betsy. Isn't that a lovely rifle? I bought that at an auction sale, about an hour's drive, hour and a half's drive north of here. And it was really interesting. There was probably, I don't know, 100, 150 people at the sale. When I sat down, there was only one chair left, and that was right beside me, and this old gentleman came along, and he said, when this came up, "That's my rifle." And I thought, oh, great. The only place the guy could sit is right beside me, and he wants to buy the same gun as me. And I said, oh, you're interested in that, are you? He said, no, that's my rifle, I'm selling it. So I got to ask him all about his rifle. So that was kind of special, actually. He bought this rifle in the United States, brought it back in the early 80s, actually. And he had one box of shells for it. He had a different scope on it. This is a Leopold 1-4. And he had a, I think I got a 3-9 with it when I bought it or something. Way too much scope for me anyways, for the bush where I hunt. And I also like Leopold, really like their glass. So he had it bore-sighted and the scope mounted when he bought it, brought it home, went out behind his house, fired 2 shots off and said, that's enough of that, that's too loud. And went moose hunting, and he fired, I think he said 3 or 4 more shots and shot 2 moose. And that was in the late 80s, and that was the only time he ever shot it. So I effectively bought what was like a brand new rifle. And I just love it. Anyways, I'm going to give it a squirt with some Rem oil. And, well, one other thing I want to mention. This little rest for cleaning guns is something my father made me when I was a teenager. My father died in 2000, and I'm 56, so that tells you how long I've had this. And the foam is rotted off, and I've got some old boot felt there. And I'm going to give it a little love and do a little upgrade on it someday, but every time I use it, I think of my dear dad and how much he loved me, and he made me this knowing how much I would enjoy using it. Well, folks, I hope you had a good day. Hope you have a good week, and we'll look forward to seeing you again on Out of the House with Paul.